Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Josh coming at you with another anime review. This week we're going over Season 4 of Overlord. So Season 4 was decent. I don't know why, but every single show I've been watching lately is good, but it's not as good as some other things that I've watched. Like, especially when I'm coming off things like Cyberpunk and Arcane and other shows like that. It's so hard to live up to that same hype level. It's just, they're good shows, but they're not great shows. And this is another show that fell into that same category. Like, I like the overall development they had of the plot, where they kept moving the show forward, and he's like, hey, let's bring more kingdoms under our wing. That's cool. Build up the empire. That's great. But then you've got parts where it's just repetitive. Like, we're still hammering home the main character's overpowered. Look how OP he is. Like, sometimes that's fun to watch. But when we just keep doing that over and over and over and over again in the season, it's like, okay, we get it. Yeah, he's OP. Like, duh. Okay? And also with that, there were some parts of the show that just went by way too fast in the season. I was like, dude, we could slow this down. That would be great. Because then we dwelled on a couple other things that didn't need to be dwelled on. Just the pacing overall was a little off this season. I was just okay with it. However, there is something that was addressed in the show this season that hasn't been addressed before. I'm very happy they did. I really don't want to discuss it because it's a pretty big spoiler, but once you watch the show, you'll understand what I'm talking about, and it's like, I'm happy that they finally addressed that as well. So that did happen in this season. That definitely adds to the experience. So overall, I thought it was a pretty good season. Like, especially compared to the train wreck of the previous season, especially the ending of it, I thought this was a pretty good one. Now let's move on to the characters next. There's not really a whole lot of new characters that were introduced this season, besides a couple people from different factions, and those people were fine. I actually want to specifically hone in on the main character of the show, Ainz. What did they do with him this season? I did not like how they decided to change him. You went from this guy that was cold and calculating, and he was being very cautious about how he wanted to move throughout the world. He's like, oh, I'm going to attack these people, but make sure that we do it properly, guys. Oh, okay, we're gonna go over here. Maybe not piss people off, let's just learn things about the world. Then all of a sudden, end of season 3, and like half of this season, they're like, no, he's just a bad guy all the time. But then we come around to this season all of a sudden, and he has no clue what's going on. A constant joke that's referenced to is just how dumb he is all of a sudden. Like, even the show starts at the very beginning, he has all this paperwork he's looking through, and they're like, I don't really understand what's in this paperwork. Maybe one of my followers will be able to do it themselves. And then he, like, somehow gets them to talk about the thing, and he's in the background, he's like, oh, that's what that meant. And then every time they believe that he just has some greater plan, and they're just following him, and he's like, oh, you surely meant this the whole time, Ainz. And he's like, yeah, that was my plan the whole time. And they're like, oh, brilliant, great, he's so smart, oh, I love this guy, give me your babies. And I'm like, dude, why is he so dumb all of a sudden? And this kept going on over and over and over again in this season. And I'm like, dude, he was not this dumb previously. Like, maybe occasionally he would do this and kind of like lean in, especially when he's talking with like Demiurge, because that's kind of like the smart guy in their group. He did generally come up with a lot of their plans in the past, but Ainz is just so dumb now. Like, even all of his servants are like smarter than him, except for maybe Shaltier. But all the other servants like have better plans and are smarter about things. Like, there's a huge ass one in the middle of the season. I don't want to spoil it, but it's just like they lean into the fact that it's like, he was testing me, and then in actuality he just didn't know this thing the whole time. It's like, dude, what the hell? Why is he so stupid in this season? So I do not like the way they moved with his character. I can't really get behind this guy being so dumb. There are also some points where they still had like the girls fawning over him. I'm not as big a fan of those scenes anymore in shows, but it doesn't really take away from the experience. I'm just personally saying that that wasn't really my shtick anymore. Next thing we'll unfortunately move on to is the animation. What happened, Madhouse? Who hurt you? You guys are not what you once were. Madhouse, I remember, was this like, you know the show is by Madhouse? Oh, insta watch, this will probably be the best looking show of the season. Now, it's like, Madhouse is just average. The whole show I watched it, I was like, there's nothing remarkable about this. The animation's just mediocre quality, and they use so much CG. Last season they did it at the end. Nobody liked that. It was a huge meme in the community that was like, oh my god, that was bad. Let's do it again. Like, no. I get it. I just talked about in my last video that CG was getting better. This felt like a big step backwards. Yeah, for Licorice Recoil, it didn't need as much CG, but like, I don't know, man. This CG just is not looking good, and they just keep throwing it at you in this season. There's got to be a better way, right? A better way. Maybe just like don't do as massive as fights. Just do some smaller fights, a little more intimate. Because the ones that were smaller fights generally didn't have CG, and they were a lot better. So just, I don't know, stray away from it. Maybe just put them in the background. I mean, that's what Game of Thrones did. It wasn't, obviously that's not an anime, but for like the first half of the show, they didn't show any of the big fights on screen. It was all just in the background, and I was fine with it. Like sometimes I get it, you gotta do a big fight, but when it's this much CG and it just looks bad and it looks all copied and pasted, it's not it, guys. We'll move on to the music next. I like the intro this time. I feel like a lot of previous intros I haven't been enjoying. I did like the intro song. Watch out though, if you're gonna watch this show, don't watch the intro until like the end of the show because it's just chock full of spoilers. I mean, I know some shows do that, but this one was like, any character you're gonna get introduced to this season is in the intro, and it's like, guys, please, why? Why did we do this? The song was decent though. I kept like thinking it was gonna be a little bit more upbeat and like dance around to it, and then it would go to a completely different beat, and I was like, man, oh well. It was still a good song though. Outro though, I really like the outro in this one. Ooh, I don't know what's happening lately, but a ton of outros in a row for shows I've been watching are like really good. It's shocking because in the past there were so many outros that were just like skippable. Nobody cared about them. Now all the outros are pretty good. Even the one last week wasn't too bad. Still enjoyed it. So overall, pretty good music for the season. We'll do a quick hit on the voice acting. No noticeable large voice acting changes between the previous seasons. Same actors here and there. If you like the sub, you're gonna watch the sub. If you like the dub, you're gonna watch the dub. This is the 4th season of a show. If you didn't watch the previous seasons, it's not like you're just gonna pick this one up. That'd be really weird. So it's still solid on that aspect, so no new change there. All right, we're gonna come down to the rating now. I'm unfortunately gonna have to give this a 7 out of 10 for this season of Overlord. It's complicated, my relationships with 7 out of 10s at this point. I feel like I just keep throwing them out to all the shows that I've been doing, but I can't give a show better than a 7 at this point. They're all just kind of letting me down in certain aspects. This one had, you know, some character decision choices and just overall, just how the plot, like the overall plot I enjoyed, but some of the ways how the guy just feels evil for the sake of being evil at this point. This isn't that one, oh god, Codebreaker, where the guy was like, an evil for evil. Like, no. Ainz did evil stuff, but had a motivation. I feel like he's lost some of his motivation. He's just doing it for the sake of being evil. Not a fan. So that's gonna take away from the rating, and we're sitting here at the 7. So with that, thanks for watching. Hopefully we can get a show up to an 8, 9, or a 10 sometime in the near future. Maybe something lower. I wouldn't mind getting like a 3. That'd be cool. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and a subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.